Life University, for those of you who may not be familiar, Life University focuses on 5 key areas. As part of the teaching arm here at the Tabernacle, we focus on family, finance, health, education, and leadership. And some of you may or may not know that we are working with a Christian organization called Fishgate, which is part of this church, to do scholarships for people who attend Life University, up to $5,000. So if you know someone who's thinking about going back to school, whether it's trade school, community college, the university, they can have an opportunity to get a scholarship, and that would be renewable for 2 years. So help us get the word out. Our foot soldiers went out today. We just added it to our outreach brochure about the scholarship opportunities through Life University, and we're getting ready to also do some partnering with Cherry Street. But it's an excellent opportunity if you know anybody who wants to go back or begin a fresh education, and there's an opportunity to get some funding. The other thing is we believe knowledge is not just power, but we also believe knowledge is life. The scripture says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. So knowledge is more than power. Knowledge is life. And so we just want to encourage you to help us get the word out about Life University. We video Life University. So I'm going to ask if you could refrain from walking as much as possible. But if you do need to walk, try to duck down underneath the cameras as best as possible. Ask you to turn your phones to silent if possible. But if you know that maybe you have someone who could potentially be in a situation, put it on vibrate, but I would prefer you put it on silent. And we have what we do each month with our Life University, we bring an expert in those areas. And so we've had everyone, we've had Dr. Durant, Dr. Carnell Smith, Barb Roos, Lee Powell, just to name a few. People who have spoken here at Life University, and you can always go to the Life University YouTube channel, become a subscriber, and you can have access to those videos. So we'd like to encourage you to do that. If you haven't been at all of the Life University sessions, I'd encourage you to do that. That being said, we're going to open up with a word of prayer, and then I'm going to introduce our guest faculty for the evening. Father, we just thank you for this day that you have made. We rejoice and we're glad in it. We just ask that you would bless our guest faculty tonight. We ask that you bless each attendee tonight, and ask for traveling mercy and safety for those who are traveling. And we just thank you for all things. In Jesus' name, amen. Wow. Well, I'm excited to introduce our next guest. He's no stranger to the Tabernacle. As a matter of fact, they've been a part of the Tabernacle family now for 2 years and counting. His lovely wife, Gloria. If you haven't had a chance to, when we're finished with this session, go over to our children's area, our preschool area, and you can see the beautiful mural that she painted for the children. It's a jungle theme, and it's got some real interesting animals that you might not notice immediately, so just kind of look around a little bit. And she put some little, keep the children guessing and keep them off, a little bit. But we're thankful for Gloria. We're thankful for Service Spring, who is providing the videoing, and they help us with our marketing. And this is our guest faculty's company, Mike McAlear. He's the president and CEO of Service Spring Corporation, and he is a dear friend, and he is very knowledgeable on the topic of leadership. So get your pen and your pad out and get ready to take some notes. Why don't you help welcome Mike McAlear?
I hate when he builds me up like that, because I tend to wing it. And anybody that knows me, I always say the same thing. I don't know if I'm ready for this or not. But one of the things I think, if nothing else, I can relate some of my leadership experiences. I've been part of a family business for the last, since 1978, however many years that is, and 38 years. And for that time, I learned a lot about leadership, and most of the time it's the hard way too. And leadership is described, let's see, it says that the position or function of a leader, a person who guides or directs a group, an act or an instance of leading, guidance, and direction. I like the guidance and direction a little better than leading the group. Leadership definitely is not a position. Have any of you worked for somebody who's in a position of authority over you and they are not a leader? And as a matter of fact, a lot of people have experienced that. Maybe a lot of the people at Service Spring too. But it's also not about directing people, because I think you can write a list of things to do and how to do it. You can write it down so you can follow. You can read, take this list and do it. When you have a tendency to want to always direct people and say, go from here to do this, and if you come up with this problem, do it this way. And what happens is people start relying on you, and your organization, and I'm talking about organizationally, but you can also apply this to your family, to yourself, but you're only as good as yourself. And so you have strengths and weaknesses as a leader, and if you have people around you that complement those strengths and weaknesses, and you don't just direct them, I'm already ahead of myself. By the way, I don't do this professionally, if you haven't figured this out. What is a leader? It's somebody who provides vision. What's vision, right? Vision is saying, I see when we're through with our task, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to accomplish. And a lot of people can relate to that. And so they see this vision. With our company, we want to be closer to the customer. And how do we come closer to the customer? Well, we have more than one location, because one location can't be close to 4,000 people. And vision is a good thing that you need. You also need to be able to provide, why are we doing this? And I think that's an important part. And there's some people who have read books on, I forget the name of the author, but about why. People really can relate. If you can relate to the why we're doing things, whether you're sitting at a machine, you say, why is the quality important in what you're doing? Because a customer doesn't have to do this, or why is this extra step important? Or as an organization, why are we even here? We're not here to make money. We're going to make money if we do things right. We're here to help the customer and help them with their daily lives, because a lot of our customers, as an example, they're small people. It could be a mom and pop organization. One person and the wife takes the books, the guy goes out on the truck, or vice versa, goes out on the truck and makes a living. They need a lot of help from us because they don't have some of the expertise that we do at our business. So that's one of the reasons why we're here to aid our customers. Now, when I tell anyone in our organization that, they look at life a little differently. It's not just about me doing the job. I have to do my job correct so that I can provide a service to that customer. And I think that's important. So the why is very important. And then I think something that's important, and I don't always do this the best, but for providing support for others that they can soar. So think about that. And I'm going to talk about you bring the right people to the table, but you have to provide the resources and help others soar. And what does that mean? And I have, this is the hardest thing for me to talk about because my wife's in the room. And then as it relates to having our children soar and having our family soar, we all deal with conflicts in our organization or personal, but I know my wife's hanging on everything I say right now. And I read a quote essentially that said that the ultimate goal of a leader is to have somebody accomplish something and think they did it by themselves. And you think about that, think about it from a parenting perspective. You spend a lot of time and effort and you're there and the child does something, he does it halfway decent, doesn't do it correctly, but you say, good job. Next time try this and do this next time. And at the end of the goal, when he or she achieves his goal, guess what? He thought he did it himself, and that's pretty cool. And that, I think, is an ultimate goal of a leader. Sorry, I have allergies too. You may, let's see. Oh, a word of caution that I found when we start talking about expressing vision or expressing why, but vision in particular, there's, I think, a couple ways of doing it. One way I've done it through a good chunk of my career is it's in my head. And that's good, because then, but the problem is you start directing people instead of properly expressing what the vision is. So I've had a successful organization. About 11 years ago, I had a group of people around me, and they would do whatever I tell them to do. Hey, or let me say it a different way. I'd say, hey, I think we should go north. They go, okay, that sounds good, let's go north. And, but they really didn't understand why we have to go north. They didn't understand the reason I wanted to go in a certain direction. It was in my head, but I had to learn that there's a lot of ways to communicate with people, and you have to find the way, because some people are auditory learners. You tell them something once and they remember it. I have to see it in writing. If I'm learning a new language, I can hear it, but I also have to see it. And that goes with the people that you lead too. There are people that, we have teachers in the audience that can talk about all the different kinesthetic learners, auditory, what are all of them? there's a lot of ways of learning. I think that vision needs to be expressed in a way that people can understand. And then we talked about why. I guess one of the things I thought is I've had a lot of good success in the business by doing the right things well. So our business does a lot of things well and doing the right things well, but we have great success when people know why we're doing the things that we're doing. So all of a sudden, people then started understanding, oh, here's why we're doing it. And I think then there's innovation that can occur because they already know why. And they're thinking, not only do I have to do my task, but what else do we have to do? And I think that to me is probably something I've learned more recently than in my first years of the career. You know, when you're the new boss, what do you want to do? You want to tell people what to do, right? And that's a terrible way to do it. An enlightened person says, here's where we want to go, and here's why we want to go. I think also a good leader sets an example, and this is where I fall down a lot of times. Whether you know it or not, I'm on display right now. How I look, how I dress, this is how I dress at work, by the way. And it all conveys who you are as a person and as a leader. And so you have a choice in those matters. I choose to do this way. I choose to be down to earth. I choose to be self-deprecating. Yeah, I'm always learning. But people are watching you constantly. So you may have that position of authority, but the leader is what they're looking for. Are you leading me? Are you setting a good example? How we talk, how we dress, whether or not. Another thing that I think is important, how we talk about our peers and our boss and people in charge when no one's around. How are we talking about it? How is that? That's part of our character, and that's about leadership as well. There's a lot of water cooler conversations in any organization, and are they building people up or are they tearing them down? You've been in organizations where there's informal leaders. They don't have a title, but people gravitate towards them. Why? Because they have some integrity in what they do. They're usually probably positive people. Nobody likes to be around negative people. And they set a good example. And I think the other thing that's important as a leader is how many people do their bosses really know? Whether you're a boss here, do you know your people? Or if you report to somebody, do they know who you are? And I think that's an important part of leading people is how can you lead someone you don't know their qualities? What do you like? What gets you going? Oh, I like a challenge in this area. I like to solve this problem. Let me go talk to these people. I like to express myself. I'm a little nervous about doing this, so I won't put you in that role. I mean, get to know the people around you. I think that's an important part. If you ever walk through the plant with me, I try to remember a lot of names, but we've had a lot of new faces too. And I think that's important. People get to know you as well. Understand the impact you have with your words. And I've had to learn this, and I'm still learning this. I am a person that wears my emotions on my sleeve, whether at home, and my wife can attest to that, or even at the office, and Kaylee back there can attest to that when I'm upset, people know I'm upset. When I'm happy, they know I'm happy. And sometimes I have to learn I think it's on a positive side, they know who I am, the real me. On a negative side, I have to learn to control that. But I think to me, it's a positive when somebody is willing to express themselves. I like looking at I was saying earlier, I like finding the little girl and the little boy in people that I work with. What does that mean? When you're a little boy and a little girl, you don't worry about what you say. Your emotions are right out there. You're willing to talk about anything, and that's fun to me. So if I know your insecurities, then I'll try not to play against those insecurities. If I know your points of strength, I'm going to say, come on, let's give you a project that builds you up. I know it sounds kind of like Pollyannish, but that's really what I believe. It's worked well. I think another thing that's important, I'm going through this pretty quick. Leading through rough times. It's another thing that I found. In 2010, we had a tornado. And in 2008, before that, we had 30% less sales than we ever had. And when you have those kind of tests and things aren't going well, and they're not going to go well all the time, I guess it tests who you are as a leader. Then what do you draw upon when things are tough? It's what you've practiced through when times are great, right? It's where are you, Pastor? Calvin's talking about education and why that's so important. Education gives you options. And I think rough times, you rely on your training. If I came up to him and full out after him, he's gonna, right? I had a little karate, but I'm not a black belt. And the thing is, you're gonna do something without thinking about it. And on rough times, that's what you're gonna do. So what have you practiced during the good times for those rough times? And that's something I think you need to think about. Rough times rely on character. What happens when things go bad? How do you look at life? Do you have people that are positive around you and say, I can get through this? And I've been through a lot of different things. I'm carrying a pump right now that's infusing me with chemotherapy. And about 6 months ago, I heard that I had this stage 4B colorectal cancer. And I guess I've never said, why me? I said, all right, what do I got to do? Maybe not right away, but it took about a month to think about it. So what am I going to do? And I'm going to move forward. And I think that's a character. And when you have that attitude, anything's possible. Rough times will test your relationships. That just goes without saying. Both personal relationships, business relationships. And what do you do during those tough times? Are you secure in who you are to get whatever on the table and then work through it? Or do you hold back and just hope things go away? And I think honesty is usually the best. I was going to say for the most part, honesty is the best. My take through my career, I guess through my career, I've always continued to invest back in myself so that I could be a better leader. What does that mean? That means I've educated myself out of the realm of what I do for a living. I'm a reserve deputy in Indiana, believe it or not. And I did that. I went through the police academy when I was 45 years old. Why? To do something, to educate myself in a different way of looking at life, to challenge myself. I've read more books on leadership than, I can't remember them all, but each one of those, there's a little takeaways. And so constantly trying to improve who I am. This is not easy for me. I enjoy kind of doing it, and I want to get better at it, so I want feedback. And practice what you learn, and adapt to, and here's another, practice what you learn, and adapt to what you learn to your learning style. You can't, you'll take any learning experience and say, how can I apply this to my life? And it may be a little different than how Carl would apply it to his life. And I think that's important, but continue to learn. And as I said, with the cancer or any other obstacles, when we lost 30% of our business in 2008 to 2009, I didn't go, woe is me. I said, okay, what are we going to do to get around these obstacles? The first thing we did was we went and called customers. In that same period of time, we gained 15% more customers, just because we said, we're not going to sit here and idly and do nothing. We're going to do something. And even though we lost 30% of our business. And I guess my business is irrelevant. The approach that I take is what I'm trying to convey. That when you're tough times, you don't stop. You go, oh gosh, what am I going to do? You start moving forward, finding a new way. Another challenge that we have, and it's probably not an obvious challenge, and I'm near the end of this, is leading in good times. Why is that a challenge? Can anybody tell me why leading in good times is a challenge? What could happen in good times? Drop your guard is a good thing. Become complacent. There's a lot of people that say, all right, we're making money now, so let's spend it all. And we can't do that. Or we have to continually find out that the thing that got us to where we are today may not be what's going to take us to the future. And we've seen that time and time again. When we had a rough economy, our customers learned to do more with less. Instead of saying, I want a whole pallet of springs, give me 5 springs. And give me lots of 5 springs every week or every 2 days. And it's a whole different pattern of behavior. So we had to adapt who we were as a business. The rules didn't necessarily apply. Good customer service did, but we had to rethink how we did things. I didn't have a choice in that matter. I adapted to whatever happened. The biggest challenge is the big head, is the hubris, it's complacency, it's thinking you're better than you are. And I think when everything's going well, that's probably, I don't say it's my biggest challenge, because I try to be humble, because I know you don't know what the next diagnosis is going to be or the next challenge you're going to deal with. And so you enjoy day to day. And I guess, just the disciplined lifestyle, there's things when times are good that you want to spend more money, you want to do more things. That's probably a time to check and say, I want to do the right things. And what things should I put my time and my effort in, because that's important. And that goes operational, and we've seen that in the business too. We do things a certain way, and then maybe, that's good enough. No, it's never just good enough. We constantly try to tweak, don't we, Carl? Constantly. Carl's part of that. I guess I continue to strive for improvement. If anybody knows me, they know that that's what I do. I'm always trying to find a better way to do something, whether it's be a good law enforcement deputy, which I do very infrequently, or a leader at a company that employs almost 200 people. And you have to have a conscious effort to do that, because it's too easy just to put it off. I also continue to look for people that challenge me. And as a leader, that's probably one of the hardest things. You start this church, you've developed a church, and now it's going pretty well, and somebody says, I don't like this. And say, well, why? And have those people around you to challenge you. And I also go to Cedar Creek Church, and Ben Snyder is the new pastor of leading, 9,000 person church. And I said, my best gift I'll give you is just be honesty and tell you how things are going, because I think everybody is in a leadership position needs to have good people around them that can give them good feedback. So I guess I review everything I do as a leader. It doesn't always seem like it to my wife sometimes, but I do. And I guess to summarize, and I would prefer more of an interactive here than me talking, but to summarize, the leadership's not a title. Don't ever think that just because you got a title, you're a leader now. I think it's something you have to develop as an individual. Leaderships provide a vision. They provide why we're doing the things that we're doing. They hopefully inspire through their behavior, and they continue to hone their skills. And if I leave you with those 5 points or 6 points, that's who I am in a nutshell. And it's hard to convey a lifestyle, a life of doing things a certain way, but I hope I've given you a couple nuggets. That's really all I have. Do you have questions? Do you have ways of, Charlie?
Could you tell us the story about the tornado? Could you tell us the story about the tornado and what happened and what you were able to recover from that?
The tornado is an interesting story. I look back at it now. It's probably one of the toughest times. My wife will tell you how I was. Sorry to keep referring to you. But what was amazing to me is we went, and it was June 5th, 2010, and an F3 and an F4 tornado went through Lake High School, and it wiped out 2 of my buildings. It put about $2 million of damage in the main building that makes springs makes the money, so to speak. And it wiped out all the electrical and all the gas. The gas was venting out of a pipe about this big. And went there, I heard it on one of the law enforcement radios, and I ran over there. And you talk about testing your metal and how you do things. There was down lines, and you had to take a chance. Do you think it's live? It doesn't look to be making any noise, so you jump over it. And that's kind of a analogy of life. Are you going to take that step and try to do it? So we moved into the debris field, and unfortunately there was at least 2 deceased. One person was killed right by the Lake Township Police building. We went and looked at our buildings, and it was like devastating. What do you do? Well, again, I didn't say, woe is us. What do we got to do? Well, we got to get electric, we got to get gas, and we need to clean up the mess, because there were truck trailers all over the place. It was really a disaster. The house that was next door was a lot in the parking lot. There were things this big through the walls in our office building. There's a 20 by 20 hole in the building, holes all the way through the roofs. And what was kind of amazing is I didn't really have to say a whole lot on what to do. As a matter of fact, I don't remember saying a whole lot. Plant manager came over, Dan Souzer at the time came over, and they started cleaning up. And then other people called the electric company, and they were up, and I give the electric company kudos. They were up in 3 days. They planted poles and got electric in 3 days. we had to threaten the gas company a little bit. They were not quite as responsive, but we were up about a day later. So in about 30 some hours or whatever it was, we were up running our plant. We could see the sky, but we kept going and we cleaned up the place. And it was a good testament of what people can do if they know the roles, they know what the vision is. The vision is we have to take care of our customers. We lost one account. We didn't lose the account, we lost one order. And we chose to do that for the sake of the customer. And as it turned out, we could have done it. So, we were proud of the IT team. They took all of our IT. We had a stand about this tall, and it was sitting there running a battery backup. There's no power to it, and it was running. We literally took the case and dumped out the water, if you can believe this, and we used that as the computer, and we took it off site, and we were taking orders within 24 hours or 30 hours. I was real impressed. They were all sitting like this taking orders, but they were taking orders. So as far, and that was, I don't forget where it was, CISP, off-site. So it just shows you what you can do if you're trained, if you know what your alternatives are, you're educated in what your choices are in life. I mean, we knew that CISP had a place where you could plug in, we could take our technology, plug it there, and start taking orders. And if we didn't educate ourselves, we wouldn't have known that. And I guess that's the story. I mean, there's more that goes on to that, but Cedar Creek came and helped a little bit, but essentially, we made it right ourselves, and there was not a whole lot of directing traffic. That's the cool thing. What other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have one that's kind of interesting. I recently experienced in my life terminal illness. My voice is wrong. I don't need a microphone. Okay, I hate microphones. I experienced terminal illness with two close members of my family, both my late father and my sister. And one thing that both of these illnesses taught me was a strong sense of self-reliancy, both with myself and with working with others. What has your illnesses taught you that you can translate into your business career? Because a lot of times people get those very strong illnesses like heart conditions and cancer. It really changes their lifestyle in many different ways. So I was kind of curious, how has it made you maybe a better business leader from a different standpoint in terms of how you work with people?
Well, I think people become a lot more precious, the people you deal with in life. The first month of hearing, I have stage 4, and it's a 5% or 8% chance past 5 years of living. And the care I'm getting now is called palliative care. They're really not trying to cure that. I disagree with it. I think the things are happening. I know by the numbers. Life's a lot sweeter right now. This is fun. I'm not really afraid. I'm afraid that I'm going to fumble my words and not say anything that means anything to anybody. But I like doing it. It's an opportunity for me, so why not? And I think, as a leader, I don't know. People that have seen it, what do you think? Has it changed me? My wife can tell me that. It's
a strong sense of sensitivity in that you're like there's this aura that's coming out this life. I'm a caring person that whatever you say, it can be as dumb as a bag of rocks, but I'm going to listen and I'm going to give you validation. That's what I'm getting.
Well, I appreciate that because empathy is probably, what's that? I was going to say, empathy is not necessarily my strong, but I do agree with you. When you're faced with that, if I did nothing to correct my illness, I probably wouldn't be here today. I mean, they said 6 months. My brother's a doc, and I think he was trying to get me off my rear end to do something. But, I don't know. That's a good question. It's made me more aware of, well, I'll tell you one thing that I did. I had to sit down and make a decision on how, in my absence, how's the company going to be run. I have 4 children, 3 boys and a girl, the oldest boy and the second oldest boy. So the first and third child had an interest in the business. And both of them are, I think, in their own right, but very different people, capable of running a business. And I also have a non-family member that's capable of running the business, who's about their same age. Oh, excuse me. And you have to make some tough decisions. What do you do? If you're out of the picture, how do you make the smoothest transition for the group? I mean, we're a $60 million company. It's not huge, but it's a decent-sized company. We employ 193, I think, is the most current stat. That's a responsibility to a lot of people. And I think it got me to say, all right, I'm going to put this in writing, and that's what I had to do. So I sat down and I said, we're going to have this son is the heir apparent if something absolutely bad happens to me. And then we're going to put a group of leaders in my company and one outside my company who's been a lifelong friend, and they're going to help designate. And this is news to some of the new people and you guys, but and that's what we put in place, and it's been put in place so that continuity, so that people won't have to fear loss of their jobs, and I know the people that have been put in place take their jobs very seriously, and so I don't know, it's maybe a little more kinder, gentler, and yet I don't think my wife would think that. I think I keep referring to you. I'm sorry. But I think what it makes me not tolerate some things too. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want to deal with this type of behavior. I want to deal with positive things in my life, whatever that life may be. It may be, I hope it's another 10 or 20 years. I don't know what it is, but that's the beauty. So every day I have, I want to take and do something positive with the time I have.
I'll say a couple things and I'll take a question. So Mike has, he's grown this company. They've been number one in their industry. They have sparked innovation. They figured out how to do a lot of things in-house. So some of you are thinking about, man, how can you become more innovative? That might be something someone's thinking about. What did he have to do for the company to become the type of company he is today versus the company that he stepped into how many years ago, maybe?
38 years ago.
So those are type things. And the other thing that I hope you respond to, this social responsibility. Mike, and he won't brag on himself, but he just got the Humanitarian of the Year award in his industry because of his, yeah, it's a good place to clap.
Thank you.
So I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a spectrum because he can't get everything out so that you guys can ask some questions, and you got this guy standing in front of you for the next 15 minutes. So if you have some questions, go ahead and throw them at him. Now, I had a hand over here.
Yes, you spoke on or touched on continuous improvement efforts. How do you determine which area to focus on improving when things are going well?
Everything. And that's very broad, and it makes some, and Kaylee's laughing about that. Oh, you're laughing about the mic. But it's true, wherever there's an opportunity. And that's why if it's just me dictating, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, but if I build you up and teach you, so to speak, how to look for things in your realm. Carl can tell you this. He's a prime example of this. He's a guy who worked in the plant. He still works in the plant. He worked on the machine, and he was always questioning, why do we do it this way? How about this? He got a little annoying at times, but that's another story. But he was always questioning, why not do this? And then you get to a point, you go, okay, show me how to do it. You may be in a whole different realm. You may be in the accounting realm, and we've been doing this every day. Why does it take us 3 weeks to close our books? We should do it in 3 days. That's continuous improvement. It could be something as simple as where you put the printer, or whether you should print or not print, talking about social responsibility. But everything's open, everything's game. And sometimes it's just little improvements that add up in the long run. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, what's your style of leadership?
Random. My style of leadership, I need to ask these people that. What's my style of leadership? Shoot from the hip has been one, and I can't do that as much as I could. As a business gets bigger, I can't just do that, although I'd like to do that. I always say I try to not take ourselves seriously, but I take what we do seriously. And so that's it. I literally I was at work today, like this. I don't care, my CFO wears the pants. I mean, you talk about wears the pants, that sounds funny. He wears short pants like I did. And that's the culture I've established. So I don't know, I'm a tough nut. You just ask these guys, I know, she's shaking her head back there. I'm tough because Kaylee's one of my direct reports over here, and she's in charge of marketing. And she'll tell you I'm tough. Just when she thinks everything's going right, I go, wait a minute, let's do this. and I'll challenge her. And I think that's an important element of who we are too, because life's going to challenge us. And so you might be thinking you're doing real well for a long time, and then I'll get challenged with something, whether it be cancer or a downturn in the economy. So my leadership style, I think, is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Random. Yes, sir. This mic also is for a tape. That's why it's good to have it.
It's okay. I don't have a problem with mics. But as you've been talking, and even as far as this life struggle that you're having right now with your health, how does your faith plays into your business aspect as well as at home, your beliefs?
That's interesting. My faith is something that I was raised for about 40 years Catholic, and so Catholicism doesn't necessarily want you to or encourage you to wear your faith on your out loud. You know, you're very muted in what you do. I think I have a strong faith, and I think it comes out in the way I have my personal connection with God. I didn't say, why did you do this or why this? I'm saying, help me through this. If this is your will, what is my responsibility in this? What am I supposed to do? I've been connecting with some very interesting people in my life. And for a couple years now, Calvin and Christine and their beautiful family, they were at our house last night and the night before. And I've been fortunate to meet them. There's a group of African American, I'm about the fourth youngest, by the way, of a life group. It's the Church of God. And there was a connection to another neighbor I had at one time. And I've been going to their studying Joshua. So I'm immersed in it, and I'm still working on my faith, to answer your question. The disease and the things that I'm dealing with don't affect it. I don't think. It's strong enough to say, okay, how can I better rely on it? And that's what I need to work on. At home, it's the same thing.
I know Mike too. We kind of go way far back, and he's done a lot of serving, Rossford Board of Education. And I also remember when I taught 6th grade, and my students, you accepted them into the company, and we had a tour there. So I can see why you won the humanitarian award. But I was wondering what legacy, and I know the family too. There's a McAlear Center at the church I used to go to. So it's a good, strong name. So you have lots of roots there. But what legacy do you want to leave, Mike?
Boy, it's an interesting. I have a whole video that I could show you. It's a 4-minute video about that. I don't know. I think, I don't know what. I have a legacy of my family, and I think they're going to speak for themselves. I have a legacy of the close friends that I have, and I hope that people are going to see that, yeah, I'm a pretty flawed individual, but somehow I was able to do some good in this world. Hopefully that I've changed some lives just by my attitude, that people see, that I'm uncomfortable talking about myself like that. I do, I really think. I hope that I can influence people for the greater good. And I put myself out there, and I think that, I hope, speaks volumes more than anything else. And you're gonna look at me and you're gonna say, oh boy, he's kind of a jerk about this. Well, okay, I am, but I'm also a good guy over here on this point, and take me for who I am. And I hope that people will think that I've left the world a better place than I came into it. I don't know, that's a hard question. Thanks. Any other questions? Easier questions?
Excuse me, did you always see yourself in this position?
Yes. We talk about vision. In this position, no. But doing what I'm doing in life, yes. When I was, I've said this ad nauseum to people around me. When I was young, I wanted to be the boss. And I didn't want to get pigeonholed into doing this or doing this. My background is information systems. I'm a little geeky in that respect, and also finance. But I don't want to do just information systems. I want to do a little of everything. And if you look at my life, I've taken classes on networking. I went through the police academy. I've gotten involved in a lot of different things, and I'm absolutely thrilled at what I'm doing. And I guess that goes back to this whole idea of having a vision. And my vision for myself was to do exactly what I'm doing right now. And everything I read about kind of applied to it. And there's some point, you start getting into the humility, and that's where you don't want to lose the big head. You got to look in the mirror. When I had a group of people around me that a good friend of mine said were the most dysfunctional group of leaders he's ever seen, I had to look in the mirror. And I made a lot of changes, but I guess, yes, I've taken on that responsibility, and I love it. So yeah, I've always wanted to. So what do you guys want to do? Wherever you are in life, set your sights on it, and it can be done. And don't worry about the obstacles. The obstacles are you just got to figure out how to get around them. I really believe that. I don't care what the obstacles are. We have a guy who is in a leadership position. He has no left hand. He was born with a couple errant fingers that were surgically removed. He has the bones, and he can type with his nub. His AOL name was Stubman when he was a kid. There's not much he can do with the exception of requiring two hands, wouldn't you say? And it's amazing. And that could be an obstacle that people go, oh, I'll never do anything. This guy is, when I mentioned as a person who could lead the business overall, that guy is one of the people that I would feel very comfortable putting him in a leadership role, a big leadership role. And I think that's because he's had the same vision, and he wants to be the leader. He wants to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, I've always wanted to do this.
Mike, being a leader, it could be a very stressful job as well. How do you balance business, your family, and leisure?
I don't. No, I probably, there's an offshoot of my disease a little bit. And even then, somebody in the room may disagree with me a little bit. But it's a hard balance, because I love being the leader. And I hope that, you talk about a legacy question, I hope that some of my children have seen that. They have, definitely. If you listen, even some of the people that are struggling in my family right now have heard my lessons. And I think they see that maybe I don't have the balance that I should. It's something that you always struggle with. Pastor Sweeney and I have talked about it. And you need to take time for yourself, or you can't be good for anyone else. And that's a lesson. I'll tell you, I think it's a funny story. I had my plant manager, he's still my current plant manager. Actually, he's the COO now. He's the chief operating officer for any of the locations we have. He was probably 2 or 3 years in his tenure. He's about 10, 11 now. And he came in, I said something he didn't like. I don't remember what it was, but he looks like a military guy. He's got very thin, and he's also got, I can't say what he's been called, he's got a face. That's his resting face. So it looks like he's PO'd at you. He's upset. Wonderful guy. But he came in one time, and he was so upset at me. And I remember sitting at my desk, and I forget what I said, but he didn't like it. He said, if we were 20 years younger, we'd be out in the parking lot. I'm thinking, okay, I have my firearm right here. And I was thinking this stuff, and then we calmed down, and I knew it was so uncharacteristic of this guy, and it's right to your point. And he said, well, okay, let's come back tomorrow. So I came back, and I said, you were pretty disrespectful. Yeah, I know. You have to understand this guy's personality. And I said, well, you know what I'm going to do about this? From now, and for the next 2 weeks, you're off. I'm going to pay you for it. It doesn't count against your vacation. You just can't work here. He needed time off. So I said, and he literally, after talking about it for a little bit, he goes, Mike, if I feel better, can I come back? I said, no, take those 2 weeks, and I'm going to tell everybody, your direct reports, that you cannot talk to the guy's name's Kevin. You're not allowed to have any conversation with the plant. We'll get by without you. And so I think from that point on, he has taken vacation, 1 or 2 at a time. But he was trained by the Ford, or he was a Cooper Standard, and he was in charge of the Ford group, and you just didn't do stuff like that. You worked your butt off. I don't do that. And I think, so it was really, that was a cool story for me, because it's like, can I come back if I feel good in a week? No. And just think about that. So I guess we do promote it for the most part. And I've gotten better. I've gotten softer with that. So it's a constant challenge, especially if you're into what you're doing.
Okay, well, I'm gonna challenge you some more.
Oh, good.
I got a few minutes. So I was gonna just pick with you a little bit. Because even, first of all, I'm a counselor. All right, I'm a Christian counselor. So even as I'm sitting there and I'm listening to you and even Dr. Sweeney here, I noticed that you do a great job talking about your flaws. You don't do too good as far as accentuating your positives. All right, so I want to encourage you in that. Because that's true humility. True humility is talking about you, all of you, not just the negative things about you. Because you have some very positive things about you.
I appreciate that.
So I just want you, as you continue to speak, you heard that? As you continue to speak in other places, talk about some of your accomplishments and what God has done to help you get where you're at. Because you are a natural leader. You've always wanted it. You've achieved it. I mean, you said it, when the question was asked to you, you didn't have a problem talking about it, But you don't have to be so down on yourself because we all have flaws. But you're a good man.
I appreciate it.
You're a good man.
Thank you. No, I just feel I don't like to brag. Well, maybe that's what I got to figure out. Where's that balance for me? Because I really enjoy talking about this stuff. I'm proud of what's accomplished. Thank you. Well, thanks for listening to me.
Not off the hook yet.
That's okay. I'll talk.
So, are you hiring?
Yeah, we are. We're always hiring. If you go to servicespring.com and go up under all the jobs that we're hiring are there. If you could program, we're always looking, or we are. Yes, we're always hiring. We have an interesting time right now where we're having a hard time keeping the people. We have good people come in, but it's like when unemployment gets down to about 4 or 5%, it's hard to get people that want to stick around sometime. I think we have a good environment out in the factory. It's a factory environment. We produce springs for a living, and some of it's dirty. But I think overall people are pretty happy with it. One of the things that our HR person does is go out and every 6 months has had a one-on-one, and they just got finished doing it with everyone. And it's, I think that adds to, being able to talk to each other, and you don't see that very often. And I hope we can continue that. But yes, we are hiring.
The reason why I said you were a good leader is because when you were a good leader and when you said that you guys were faced with the tornado and the challenges, is that you had surrounded yourself with good people. And that's a quality that a leader needs, is to identify and surround himself with good people.
It's funny, I didn't say that, and it's in my notes. And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And sometimes it's challenging because they will challenge you. And you challenge them back, and at the end of the day, there's got to be a mutual respect to understand why we're doing the things that we're doing. Why push? Because I know there's better in you. And it goes with me too. I sometimes don't want to hear it, but I have people push me. And if I'm smart, I listen. And I've had that recently, just better ways to approach life. I have 3 people. You, Kevin Michelson, Brandy, you were in a bigger corporation too, weren't you? Mainly small, but we have 3 people that are much larger corporations. And I think the challenge there is, as I develop as a leader, I have to maybe change a little bit, and we have to put a little more structure, but I don't want to lose the entrepreneurial flavor we have. And I think both can be accomplished. And we had our first ever simulcast, a state of the Service Spring. It was the weirdest thing I ever did. I sat at a table, and I'm talking to a camera, and the people in the plant, we did it in our office, so there were about 30, 40 people in the office sitting. Then my whole plant was listening remotely. My plant in California was listening. Was it you that was traveling? No. Who was traveling and was watching me on an iPad? They shouldn't have been doing that while they were driving. And that was the coolest thing. And that required a little change of how am I going to communicate to everyone when we get distributed all over the country? What do I have to do differently as a leader? And that's a challenge. But that's the kind of stuff I love.
Okay. So we spent a lot of time together, and one of the lessons that I've learned from you was about innovation. And you said if you stop adapting, if you stop reinventing yourself, your business will cease to exist. Can you just say a little bit? Because if you ever get a chance to go to Service Spring, it is a place of innovation for sure.
But it's not obvious innovation. We don't have robots doing this, or we don't have, Carl's innovation. Carl is an epitome of innovation. We say, we have this process that we have going on. Okay, first let me step back to answer the question. I think innovation is a cultural thing. It's developed with, hey, we got this, check out this 3D printer, $1,500. Should we spend it? And I said, yeah, get one. Let's see what we can use it for. There's no justification for me to spend that money on the bottom line, other than it created a culture. The people in the information systems ate it up and learned how to use it. And we did some prototyping with it. It wasn't effective, but it's a spirit of innovation. We do our own marketing. We have all three of the marketing professionals in this room here that do all the marketing. This guy over here, I'm going to make you stand up. Won what award did you win? Stand up. Yeah, stand up. He knows what it is. You don't know what it is? What did he win? It's a communicator award. There was like how many entries? 6,000 entries, and he got an honorable mention. So there's innovation. How did that happen? I don't know. We gave Kyle an opportunity to work at a location, at a place that says we do everything. We can do the videos. Maybe we don't technically do the best videos, but we're getting better at it, and we can do it. We have a little box. It's about this big. It's $8,000. We plug it into the network. We put up the screen, and we can broadcast to the world. And that's $8,000. I don't know that we're starting to justify it now by its use, and I really think it's been invaluable. We have suppliers that come into us that are $7 billion suppliers, $7 billion companies that are using us to broadcast to the web. Why do they do that? Because we took the time to learn that. So it's a willingness to take some steps that are maybe not typical. In a typical environment, you say, you got to justify this. Return on investment. What's your return on investment? When's the payback period? And I get pushback for this even today in my own organization, but that's the kind of stuff we do. We said, let's try it. Let's get this box. I think we have enough expertise in-house to use it, and we've done it. One of my, and this is a direct reflection of who I am, I like to know a little bit about a lot of things and be able to speak about a lot of different things. So when we got in information systems, we did our own software for when people call us up. We wrote all our software. That software then goes directly to the plant. We wrote all our plant software so we can be flexible and change how we want to change. When we want to move this machine here to here, or we want to change the specs on the machine, all we got to do is say, hey, change it, and it's done. And that, otherwise, you'd have to go out and get it hired out. We have our own marketing. We have our own, what else do we do? All the automation. Our safety equipment on a machine, Carl and Rankin and other people have done. The automation on a machine, Carl has designed. And this came because I said, Carl, you seem to have, besides being like this, you seem to have a knack for it. And we gave him the opportunity with my son Kevin and Rankin. And today, he's excellent at what he does. And does he make mistakes? Yes. But that's okay. That's part of the innovative process and being willing to put up with that. So that's, did I capture? Is there anything else you can think of? That's kind of how we got to that.
And this will be our last one.
One of the things I think we can even relate it to our faith too in the church is that one of the things I've learned from Mike, and I've been working for it for 14 years I think now, is that it was really difficult for me to go from trusting or having someone else do something to what are you going to do about it? Like a problem would happen, and that's our culture to say, how do we get through it? How do we rely on our team to get through that? Like sometimes it's easy to think that somebody else is going to take care of that. Somebody else is going to, walk in faith and do this or do that. But I think one of the things that Mike challenged us to do in leadership there is to be innovative and seek into ourselves, I think, how we we rise to those challenges. So I think that's our culture, and I thank Mike for that.
Thank you. Thanks. I hope this was somewhat informative, guys. Thank you.
So Mike has pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'm not a water guy, but since being around Mike, I've been in a kayak, I've been jet skiing, I've driven a boat. Yeah, it was only a couple feet of water, but hey.
But he did it.
He pushes people. Well, I hope you have enjoyed your time here at Life University. I encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. This video will be up shortly, but there are other videos that you can take a look at if you haven't already. Again, encourage other individuals to come to Life University and help us get the word out. We're thankful for Service Spring, all the help that they've provided, the marketing, the video. So can we just give a hand to Service Spring Corporation? And next month, we will have Sam Meldon, and he was one of the 40 under 40, I think, a year or two ago. He's a dynamic leader and communicator, so I would encourage you to, last Tuesday of every month, we do Life University. So let someone know, come visit us again, and we look forward to having a good time.